Huge opportunities await those who are among the first to leverage new skill sets and capitalize on fresh, more efficient approaches to unleashing their creativity. I'm going to show you in this video a novel, fresh approach on how to make low-cost, precisely drawn animation flipbooks with your CNC the easy way, with no light box, no expensive supplies, no tedious tracing, faster than it can be made by hand, and believe it or not, your only limitation is the creativity of your mind and your storytelling imagination. I can assure you that making flipbooks with your CNC will be one of the most fun projects you've ever done. Without further ado, let's make what I'm calling a CNC Flipster. That is an animated flipbook made and machined on my CNC that provides a window to showcase your imagination and a compelling visual story. Let's go have some fun. I'm going to create a new file in our Vcarve software. You can use whatever software that comes with your CNC or however you design. You want to set up your job size, use as many as possible on our surface that we're going to be drawing on. So you're going to, of course, put in whatever dimensions, either in inches or millimeters, inside your software. The thickness, you can put, 5 millimeters. That's great. You're going to be pushing down with a pen 1.5 to 2 millimeters. So as long as that's greater than what we push down with the pen, we're good to go. The zero position, you do one on the surface. You want your datum. It's rather important that we put in the bottom left-hand corner. And then we click OK. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a rectangle that's going to correspond to the size of our 3x5 card. So I'm going to go ahead and click under Create Vectors, third icon over on the Draw Rectangle. We want to set the anchor point in the bottom left-hand corner, and we want that anchor point to also be drawn down here on the bottom left-hand corner of our job page. So we're going to go ahead and change this to 0 and 0, and that way it begins drawing right there. We do want square corners because our 3x5 card has square corners, and then we're going to set the size. If you are using inches, you're going to do 5 by 3. If you're doing millimeters, you're going to do 127 by 76.2. If you don't remember how to do that, there's a trick inside Vcarve that if you take the inches and you go times and hit the M button and equals, it will convert it over to millimeters for you. And vice versa, if you had millimeters and you wanted to go to inches, you could take 127 times I, which is imperial, and hit equals, and it would give you the equivalent in inches. So a nice trick to know. And really what it's doing when it does that is it's really just multiplying by the conversion factor of what the definition is. There's 25.4 millimeters per inch, and so it's doing that when we take 5 inches times the M. It's really multiplying by 25.4 for us. So we've got our 3x5 card drawn down here on the bottom. The next thing we want to do is we want to tile it over our entire bed so that we can put a lot of images on at once when we do our drawings. So to do that, we could click on this, and we could right click and we could copy, and then we could go along here and we could paste, or we could click on this and hold down the control button and drag, but that takes quite a bit of time. There's an easier way. If you go ahead and click on your object, if you go down here to the rate copy, if you're in Vcarve Pro, it's got a nice feature, and that is it allows you to tile. So you'll see that when we clicked on that, here's our dimensions of our 3x5 card, and you can set how many columns and rows. Columns go up, down, and rows are going to be across. And what you want to do is you want to have it set on the offset. You want the offset to be the same size as your 3x5 card. So here's my offset for my 3x5 card, and then all you need to do is hit copy, and when you do, it fills up the entire page. And so this is what we're going to be doing our animation on. We've got our page set up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up to this layer that we just put all these separate boxes, because if we click on these, what you're going to find is these. Let me click down here so I don't double click on things. Each one of these is a separate rectangle. That's handy particularly when we want to snap, say, to the middle and stuff when we're dragging our graphics on here. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to rename this. If I go to this layer and I scroll down and I right click, I can go to rename, and I'm going to go master 3x5 template. So we've got that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to left click, I'm going to drag across all of this. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to copy to new layer. I'm going to make the new layer the active one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to right click, copy to new layer, and I'm going to go ahead and make that active. I like doing it that way. And I'm going to copy to new layer and make that. So layer 1, turn this off. Layer 1, 2, and 3 are what we're going to put our graphics on. So let's go ahead and make one more layer. So let's add one more layer, and we'll turn off these other ones with the 3x5 cards, and we're going to get our graphics. We want to do this so that we don't have to be a sophisticated drawer. You could, of course, draw out your own graphics here for each one of those 3x5 cards, and you could bring in SVGs and all of that. But I'm going to show you an easier way so that you don't have to be an artist, and you can get some pretty good details very, very quickly, and then you can fix it up and add little subtleties that are going to make your flipbook really stand out. So if I go over here to the text icon, I'm going to click on the text icon, and we're going to do a pentagram with our text, and you'll see why in a second. A pentagram uses all the letters of the alphabet, and there's a very, very famous one that we're going to use. And I'm going to go down here in my fonts, and I'm just going to let's do a boring font for the moment, and then we're going to show you what the fun is going to be. So for our boring font, let's just go. The pentagram that we're going to type is this phrase: the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. And I would recommend that when you do this, maybe every couple words, go ahead and hit a return. So the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. So we've got a graphic there. Now, of course, we could use these individual letters in our flipbook, but if I click on this and I go over to my font tab, you can actually go down through the fonts. And what I want to really show you is this font called Webdings. And there's a couple, some of them have multiple. There's actually 2 Webdings inside the Vcarve that come with it. So this is the first of the Webdings. And what you're going to find is it's got some nice little icons that could be a lot of fun for an animated flipbook. And so I'm going to go ahead and each one of these icons, of course, would correspond to one of these letters. So like the T is going to be that one, and the H is the ambulance, and the E here is the gift box, etc., etc. And so this must be, the B must be the bicycle, and you could figure out each individual letter, but we're going to just leave it at that for the moment. I'm going to click off of this, and we're going to make kind of a decision here. If I try to click on this, they're all grouped together, and I want to just like pull the icons that I think I might use in my flipbook, and I want to separate them out. So to do that, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go convert to curves. And what that did is it split all these little pieces up. And what that allows me to do is I can go in here and I can just individually, it also separated them. So I can pick the ones that I think might be fun to put in my flipbook. So I think it would be, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go over here to my selection mode, left arrow, and I'm going to grab some of these, and I'm going to put a box around the bicycle, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to put double click with the left mouse button. I can drag this up, and let's look for some other things. I think the plane would be a fun one to put in an animated flipbook. So I'm going to go and I'm going to box in all those graphics in that plane. I'm going to left click. I'm going to group objects, and I'm going to drag it up here. And I think a satellite would be a lot of fun to put in a flipbook. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab this. Oops, I missed one of the little fans because we had to We got to get all of that inside our box. Left click, group objects. And so I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to bring it up here. And let's see what else might be fun. A boat might be good. Police car would be fun. So let's go ahead and grab the police car, left click, sorry, right click, and then left click on the group objects. And let's go ahead and double click on that with left mouse button. Let's drag it up. And that's a good starting point, so you can kind of at least see the game that we're going to play. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete all this other stuff off here. Delete. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to click on all these. I'm going to copy to layer 1. And let's shut this off and let's go see what we got in layer 1. And lo and behold, here's those graphics. And what the next thing I would recommend you do is just grab them and let's click on them as a whole. Come down here, do that. And this is kind of going to be our master little icon thing that we're going to be dragging up. And I would recommend you make another copy right away. So if we just grab them all, if I click on them and I hold the control button while I drag, here's like another copy. So we got it. So let's go ahead and let's put a plane in all these little pages that are going to be in our flipbook. So let's grab the plane. So I double click with my left mouse button and let's bring it up into our flipbook page. When you draw on these flipbooks, you don't really want to, with 3x5 cards, you don't want to really use this left, maybe inch or so, because you're going to have this being pinched and you might not see it all. So it's good to start on the right hand side, and remember that you may not see it if you go too far. Now, we of course could do the copy and paste and spread it across this whole thing, but it would be a whole lot easier if there was a quick way to do it. And of course there is, if you're in Vcarve, you can do the same sort of game that we did before. You can click on what you want to duplicate. You can go down here to array copy, and we've got the object size right here. We want the displacement to be the same as our 3x5 card. So if it was in inches, it'd be 5x3. You want the offset, and we're going to fill up our entire page, which would be on mine 7x4 columns. And I'm going to go ahead and copy. So we have all our planes. We have all our planes located on our flip card. So if we were to take each of these flip cards and just draw it out like this and flip it, of course the plane would remain stationary. When we want to do some sort of movement, we just need to shift it a little bit or rotate it a little bit. And of course, our eye is going to tell us that the object is in motion. So let's say we wanted the plane to fly from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. All I have to do is go over here to the next card, and I can just use the arrow key. This is the left arrow key, and I can hit this twice here, 3 times here, 4 times, 5 times, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, 9 times, and we could do that. And of course, we could let's drag this across here. We could cause this thing to bank if we wanted to. And if you've got a starting point here and you're not really happy, don't want to have to like shift all these, but you want a relative starting point from this, we can go back over here and we can shift select these that we already pasted in. Just delete them out of there. We can go to this, we can do an array copy, and this time let's just do 2 rows, 4 columns, and it will perfectly place them in the right locations. Then let's go to this, and let's go ahead and I've got this selected. I'm going to go to my rotate objects tool, and I'm going to click on this. if I want to bank it to the right, I put a negative angle in. If I want to bank it to the left, I put a positive angle in. About 5 to 7 degrees is kind of ideal for the flip books. So I'm going to do a -7 degrees, and I'm going to click apply. And one nice thing is it will remember this, and if this pivot point rotate page holds, if you can go to the next one, if I hit this twice, then I've rotated 14 degrees. And if I go over here and click this, I've rotated 3 times, I've got 21 degrees. 4 times, it's 28. That would be 5 times 35. If you want to make it look like it's turning faster, then increase your relative angle from the last card. So 4, 5. I did a couple there extra, and of course, you can do quite a bit extra. We want to try as best we can not to go into our other card here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just click on this. I'm going to shift it down with my lower arrow, like that. Now, I like this, and I would like to go ahead and make it so it looks like perhaps it's turning back the other way. So it's like banking, and then let's bank it back the other way. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all of this. Let's just delete these guys out of here. Delete these guys out of here. And I'm going to click on this one. I'd really like it in the same spot over here, or, well, at least the same angle, but it's not so easy to figure out exactly what the angle was that I've done. So here's a case where if you click on it and you, with your left mouse button, and then you hold down the control button, and you can grab it in the center, and we can move it all the way across here. And something like that. And if you click on it, of course, you can shift it around. It's pretty forgiving as long as you keep these angles right. So we're going to bank it back to the other way. So I'm going to go ahead and change the degrees from a -7 over on this left-hand side to a +7, and we're going to bank it back so it looks like it's rotating back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. So I rotated it 7 degrees, and let's go ahead and let's go ahead and fill in maybe these 2 rows here with this plane rotating. So I'm going to go ahead and have this selected. Left mouse button, I'm going to go linear copy. I'm going to do 2 rows, so 1 row, 2 rows, 4 columns. This is the offset of a 3x5 card. Hit copy, and so it put it in exactly the right spots. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to individually continue this rotation game. So under transform objects, hit rotate. We wanted to rotate it 7 degrees, and so I'm going to go ahead and hit apply, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit this twice. And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit it 4 times. So it makes it look like it's going faster. And let's do 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 9 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's do 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's do 13. So we're pretty darn close to level here. Now let's make this plane go ahead and look like it's flying towards us. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. I'm going to left click, hold the control button down, left click, and I'm going to drag this over in the same location as best I can that it was on this other side. Okay, like so. And I'm going to just copy across so they're the same relative position. It doesn't really matter that much for what we're doing, but let's go ahead and just do the ray copy. So let's do the ray copy. This time we're going to do one row, 4 columns, and go across, and we've got them filled in. And so now we're going to, my dog's sleeping in the background. If you can hear him whining. And so now let's make it look like it's actually really coming out towards us. So I'm going to start scaling these things. So I'm going to click on this, double click, and grab one of these corners. And by doing the corner and dragging it, of course, it's going to scale proportionally. So I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to scale it like so, like that. And if I finally do this, and I like to, and I'm okay with it going off the 3x5 card this way. I've got some bed space over there. It's not going to crash my machine. And that actually can be a nice technique if you want to bring an object in. If, you can do it like that. And so don't be scared to have something go off the edge as long as it's not going to crash into the walls of your machine. We can legitimately do that. So we've got a whole bunch of planes drawn here. Now, each 10 cards is going to correspond to about 1 second of flip video, or animation, I should say. And so here I've got 28 cards. You really need about 50 or 60 cards. So I really need to have a decent size animation. It would be really, really nice to go ahead and have at least one more sheet of these before I draw it out on my CNC. So take this one. I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy it. And let's go down to, I guess I drew these on layer 4. I meant to draw it on layer 1, but that's okay. Let's go the next layer. Let's make layer 3 the one we're going to go to. So that top one, I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and I'm going to go paste. And so that's where it was. Let's go ahead and shift it down with just the arrow keys. So I have something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate a little bit. And let's actually make it shrink just a hair. So this is, you can tinker with this. And I'm going to go ahead and just drag it across just a hair. Something like that. All right, that's nice. This would be funny. Let's go ahead and grab our crazy plane, and let's bring it in and just think. So I'm double clicking down here. I'm going to hit the control. I'm going to come up here and bring it in. Oh man, that's just mean. And then let's double click, hit control. Let's bring it across here. Can't believe it's going to ram it. Okay. When you overlap these two vectors, what you can do now is you can use some of these tools that instead of welding, we're used to welding things together, but you may not be used to subtracting or overlapping. So let's say I wanted to see what happens when these two. Let's do plane first, bike second, and let's do this one. And you can see that it chopped
chop this, but more significantly, look at this. The wings and these parts are torn apart. And so what you can do is you can actually grab them and you can like drag them all over the screen like it's a bad crash. We'll stop it at that for the moment. And so you get a general idea of what we've done. And now it's just a matter of putting this on our CNC and drawing out these templates. So let's go ahead and let's make our tool paths and create our pages, and we're good to go. So for our tool paths, you're going to go over all of these when you draw. You're going to do the profile. You want the line on. I usually have my pen or pencil pushed down on the spring about 1.5 millimeters. And my particular pen or pencil tool runs at about 2,500 millimeters per minute. You can get by with much faster speeds than you would with a regular router bit. So your spindle speed really should be 0, but you can't put 0 inside this software without a crash. You're not going to be, you never want to run your spindle or your router whenever you're doing one of these drawing mechanisms. So have your spindle router shut off and use the appropriate speeds for your particular machine. Follow the safety guidelines in your machine. Always wear safety goggles. So with that disclaimer out there, I select this, and then I need to select the vectors I want to use. We don't want to draw the lines. Those are just to orient these things so that it lines up on our bed. And so I'm going to go ahead and click these, and I'm going to click them in a particular order because it's just a lot more palatable when this thing is drawing out if it does it in sequence. I like to go left to right, starting at the bottom of the page. So I'm clicking on each one of these vectors like so. And so back to our tool paths. And so I'm on. I've got my pen pencil tool selected. And I'm going to just call this page 1 plain animation. And we'll calculate it. So there's our first page with our first 28 animations for a drawing card.
So we're going to run our grid pattern that will be laying our 3x5 cards on top of. So I'm going to lay my 3x5 cards down. Needless to say, when you do this, you want the non-blind side face up because that's what you're going to be drawing on. And if I just laid these out on this grid, there's a very good chance that as my pen tool is pressing down, it might cause it to slip a little bit. And I don't want that to happen, particularly if I'm doing many, many runs. So the way I get around that is we're going to use a glue stick. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the glue stick, and on a vertical row here, on the far left-hand side, we're going to put a line of glue stick. You don't need that much. That's probably a little heavy, but, and then of course, we're just going to line up our 3x5 cards as best we can. It doesn't have to be perfect. The nice thing about the purple is you kind of know how long you have before it's dry. And when it does dry, it won't stay sticky on your cards, which is rather important as well. It might tear a little piece of the paper of the card off, but it won't affect the flip of the book. And that lower half will not be seen.
If you have one that's not quite going down, you can hit it with a little more glue. Like so. We can check all these here in a second to see whether or not they anchor down well. Looks like these need a little bit more. You could do this with painter's tape too. I guess that's why that one wasn't down, because it was a double. That will definitely keep it from sticking. So without further ado, of course, I'm just going to repeat that for the other 3 columns across, and I will not bore you with showing you me laying out all those cards and gluing them down. So we have our cards down, and what you can do just to make sure that the glue stick is done is just kind of run your finger over them, make sure they're not sliding around. You don't want to glue the whole thing down. You just want this left-hand edge where you're going to be putting your binding clip or your rubber band to flip it. The other thing you want to do before you start putting your patterns on here is we really want to put a sequence on these cards. And so what you're going to do is you're going to just take a pencil and you're going to number them. You could make your CNC do this for you if you wanted to. It's just, I find faster just to number it. And that way also, if a card were to slip, you know which one you need to replicate if you wanted to complete the pattern without having to do it. So without further ado, I'm not going to show all this, me writing these numbers, but I'm going to do that. So I've gone ahead and I've numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the same order all the way up, all the way to number 28 that we did when we worked with the software when we were setting up our images. They're in sequence. And of course, when we lay out our next set after we draw these out, we would start with number 29, 30, 31, repeat this process. We're not going to move that gridded poster board again. And because I didn't change anything in my CNC, it's already zeroed out for me. So you can just go ahead and go to your 0 point in your X and Y. The Z height is going to be fine, even though there's a little thickness to the card. That's not going to be a problem because we've got give with the spring, so we don't need to reset our Z. And I've loaded in the first page of our animations, which was just the planes. And I'm going to go ahead and start the job, and we'll see how this goes. Make sure you pull them off in the order of the numbers, you know, making sure that this stays on top. And then, so I've taped down the 3x5 cards. I've numbered them in the top corner, 29 through 56. It is important that you do put the numbers in a corner, and that way you can tell what's up and down with the cards, because sometimes with designs it can be a little tricky knowing vertical or non-vertical. And since we're using exactly the same poster board and we've got some give on our Z, we don't really need to re-zero this at all. So we should be good to go. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit start, and we're going to do the next set of 28 cards. And when we get done, we should have a flip book that we can take a look at. So here we go.
So I'm back here at my CNC, and I've laid out all the cards that we had previously drawn on. We've done the modification for page 1, and now we're going to put another layer upon these previously drawn cards. So this is page 1 with another layer of detail put directly upon it, where we glued them down. I didn't show that, but that's what we did. And so without further ado, I'm going to tune this in, and we're going to add some more details and see how it turns out. The time for the big flipbook reveal has nearly come, but first, let me share a couple of final tidbits that you might want to know. Turns out, the lazy dog and the quick brown fox became best of friends. Last I heard, they were seen skiing in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and doing rather well after posting a flipbook video story online about a lost satellite that went viral. Also, the pilot and the bicyclist in the video miraculously had only minor scrapes but big bruised egos after the traumatic accident. I know personally it would go a long ways to restore their confidence. Encouraged to ride if you could hit that like and subscribe button right now to this video. Lastly, before finalizing the flipbook reveal, you must adopt the CNC Flipsters Maker Guild's Code of Ethics. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise not to launch stickmen into oceans of sharks, out of cannons, onto hostile alien planets, except when absolutely necessary. I promise that animated dogs and mice will always prevail and outsmart cats. I promise to only fly planes upside down when doing animated flipbooks. Very good. Let's begin the countdown for the big flipbook reveal. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action. If you found this video interesting, you'll really like this video.